I'll show you every best crosshair for every hero in Marvel Rivals in this video. All of these crosshairs have been used by a lot of players, and a lot of people have found it useful to learn the limits and characteristics of the different abilities that each heroes have, whether it's projectile speed or secondary ability AoE radiuses and things like that. These crosshairs will help you learn and master each hero and remember the specific details when it comes to abilities limits. This isn't going to make you aim better necessarily, but it's going to help you remember certain things about the heroes. And once again, if you want to check out any of these settings, there's a link in the description with a Google Doc where you can see them all very carefully so you can set them up in game on your own time. Obviously, we're going to start with Blade. So for Blade, we've gone for a inner dot with a transparent circle around the edge. Now, the shotgun pistol is where you're going to spend most of your time with Blade. Up close, just aim on the dot, or on a moving, like a target that's not moving much, just aim on the dot. However, when you get longer range, the bullet travel time starts to mean that you're going to miss shots. Like if I aim on target here, I'm not hitting much. If it goes even further distance, like this bot at the back, I'm not going to hit, right? So these outer circle, this outer circle, you can aim on either side of it to lead your shots up to like 20 meters. Any longer than that, then you're going to start doing less damage and you really should be getting closer anyway. So if I aim at the outer edge of this circle, we're going to do the most amount of damage possible on this spot, as you can see. So pretty straightforward. The settings for this crosshair are on screen. Right, this is Phoenix's best crosshair. She's got a hit scan primary attack, so a nice dot is going to do well. I like green. I think most players like green because it contrasts better with the outlines of the enemies. And you don't really need anything else, right? A nice green dot. However, for the secondary, there is a bit of an AoE radius on this blast. And the outer circle here just signifies the radius of that blast. There's not really much else we can do with the crosshair here. Honestly, it's a simple blast like that. It should be noted that if you're trying to hit targets directly with the secondary, then just aim on the dot, as there is no travel time on it. I think that you could get away with just turning off this circle as well. You don't really need it. I also want to point out that you can literally just adjust any of these crosshairs for yourself. If you like a part of my crosshair, but not all of it, then adjust it to your own liking. It's really recommended. For example, in this case, we can go down to the circle radius and just put it to 0 so that it's not your vision. Ultron's crosshair is designed in a way that allows you to clearly see what's at the center of your screen, and also anything in this center circle will be in radius at most distances, because the actual sort of blast radius of the attack is a lot larger than you'd first think. Even if I shoot at the very edge, we're still going to hit it. And this one has a really nice feature that as you fire in, it gets smaller. It just gives you a little bit of a nice sort of feedback on when the burst is going to hit, right? Because it charges up and then bursts. And this crosshair also has a very important setting. It has reticle animation on. So once you enter the settings, make sure to turn this on. Next, we move on to Moon Knight. He's had a few changes to his attack speed from comparing his old crosshair in the past. So if you haven't updated to this latest one, this one's just been updated to be a little bit more useful at tracking targets at all distances. As you can see here, you just basically line up with the green crosshair reticle arms and you're good to go. But yeah, I've gone for a very simple crosshair. Now that he's healing and attacking everything at all ranges with his water beam, the simpler the better. You just want to have a nice dot, although I've got the outer circle just to kind of showcase the blast radius of the Aqua Burst ability, right? It's a lot larger than you'd first think. Mantis' crosshair has gone through a lot of iterations, and I'm still not quite satisfied with it. There seems to be some inconsistency of hitting headshots, but this is the one that feels the most accurate for me when you're aiming head on. You just aim on the blue line to hit headshots. And then at longer distances, then you just use the yellow dot. Thor has, of course, gone through some changes this season. And not only that, his old crosshair no longer works. There used to be a feature where his crosshair would change in size when you activate the Awakening button. But that no longer works. And now that Thor is basically going to be in Awakening mode more often than last time, we've basically updated the crosshair so that the green sides can be used to lead your shots with the Awakening mode. So as you can see here, We can use that to aim and lead our shots at most distances. And see, it even works up to like 30 meters. It's just a nice way to kind of lead your shots because there is a bit of travel time on the lightning attack. Cloak and Dagger has unfortunately gone through the same sort of nerf, I suppose, when it comes to crosshair mechanics. You can't change the size of it as you go between Cloak and Dagger. So we've basically just gone for a middle of the ground crosshair that sort of helps you to know if you're in range for the auto aim for both Dagger and Cloak. Fortunately, we just can't get that feature working anymore. They just disabled it. So this is the new crosshair. It's pretty much the same, but the circle size is a little bit smaller. Here's Human Torch's best crosshair. Basically, anything in this circle is going to be the shotgun blast pattern of his main fire attack. So you're going to be able to hit things. You're going to know exactly what kind of radius you're looking at. And it helps to lead shots long range as well. So pretty straightforward. It's just a shotgun, right? So this circle helps to understand that. Here's Emma Frost's best crosshair. Obviously, since the latest update, she can now do attacks from longer range. It is now 18 meters instead of 15. However, this crosshair still works the same. The black arm on the left is where you want to use to lead your shots. Anything between the black line and the green dot in the middle will be the perfect place for sort of hitting damage, right? It's not quite as a long-range attack as Iron Man, but it's still the same concept. This is Groot's new best crosshair. Really cool couple features with this one. From 40 meters onwards up to the target, if you aim right about at their head, doesn't matter if they're a tall character or a short character, doesn't matter. Aim at the head from 40 meters onwards, you're going to make sure that you hit your spore bombs, right? So going to make sure that we hit them. Because of the way perspective works on a tall character, still going to work the same way. You know, once we get past this 20-meter range, if we aim at the head, it's going to keep hitting them. Now, there's another feature about Groot's attacks. Now, I didn't realize this. It actually has a travel time. Now, it starts attacking from 20 meters onwards, so you think, well, that doesn't really matter. But it does. Look at this. If we aim on target, and this may be why you're missing your Groot shots, you don't hit every shot. Look at this. We missed some there. So if we aim, once again, at the outer edges of the circle, we're going to be able to lead our shots. You wouldn't think you'd need to lead your shots with Groot, but, like, you actually do. But now we're in attack range. We lead our shots. We aim on the edges of this circle, and suddenly we are hitting our shots far more effectively, right? This is the Invisible Woman's best crosshair. Now, her attacks don't go past 30 meters, so we don't need to worry too much about leading our shots. However, there is still a slow 100 meter a second travel time on the attack. So if we aim on target, on a moving target, we're not actually going to hit that many shots. So just aiming on the outer edges allows us to make sure that we're actually leading our shots properly if necessary, as you can see here. And I've gone for a white color simply because it's going to overlay the best on both red enemies and blue teammates. This is Doctor Strange's best crosshair. I've gone for a nice, clean reticle in the middle of the screen because that's where mostly you're going to be focusing, right? Because as you shoot this attack, it converges into basically a pinpoint accurate thing. But that is only at a distance of about 25 meters. As you get closer, it turns more into more of sort of a shotgun blast pattern. And this circle will just help indicate the overall average blast area in case you need that information. So for example, from this distance, us hitting like this is going to be a bit more useful. And we can also see that the bullet travel time is really slow on this. So once again, just aiming at the outer edges of this circle helps to make sure that we're on target on the strafing target. I still feel like this is the best crosshair for Venom. There's a couple features, the first of which can be turned off once you've gotten good with Venom. It's essentially training wheels to help you get used to the distance you need to be to attack players. So this is going to work on all characters besides tanky ones that are taller, because that's pretty much most characters that you want to try and focus on for the most part with Venom anyway. If you aim at their heads, as soon as the bottom of the line goes past their feet, then you're going to be hitting them and you're going to be in attack range. If it's going over their feet like this, then we're out of range. But as soon as it goes in their feet, you can now see that we're in range, right? So it's just a little bit of a mental check for you to be like, oh, okay, am I actually in range? So you're not just going to be in a situation like this where you're not hitting. And you're like, why am I not hitting? Oh, if I just step a bit closer, and make sure, you know, and obviously you're not going to be looking at this the whole time, but as you're like walking up to a point, you can just be like, okay, right, it's in range now, I can see, right? As opposed to you're standing here and you're like, what? Why am I not getting hits, right? It's like, oh, it's so obvious now. If I just get a bit closer with this Crosshair, I can see. And, you know, you can turn it off. There's a guide on how to turn this specific thing off in my reticle, as you can see on screen. This circle has been made a little bit larger so that you can focus aiming on the left side of the circle. So you put the left side of the circle on the player's head. And that way, it's just going to make sure that you're sort of hitting more headshots, which I think is really important. As you can see, we're actually going to get more headshots like this. Here's Peni's best Crosshair. I've reworked it from last time a little bit, but it's the same function with a bit more accuracy. So the red line is to help you aim mine shots. Now, up to about 30 meters, it's going to land alongside the line. So as you can see, a mine there landed alongside the red line. There, it lands alongside the red line. And even all the way up to there, lands on the red line. So everything up to that distance is going to be alongside the red line, okay? This is just going to mean that I can actually, like, better aim mines in the distance, right? Like if you want to set like a point further away, right, you can actually like better aim up your mine so you're actually getting damage with them long range, like that. Otherwise they won't trigger, right? If I aim here, they're not going to trigger. And then we have this new white circle on Peni's Crosshair. This is because Peni's attacks are 120 meters a second. That's how fast they travel through the air. Now, if you aim right at the center on a strafing target, you're gonna miss, right? If they stay still, great, you'll get some shots off. Like every time they stop strafing, you'll get a couple shots. But most of those shots there, as he's actually moving, are missing because of that slow travel time. So we basically aim on each outer side of the circle, depending on what direction they're strafing, to make sure that we're leading our shots perfectly. As you see there, actually, we can actually hit them, right? Here's Rocket Raccoon's best Crosshair. It just has a 120 meter second bullet travel time, which means if you aim right on the center dot on a moving target, even at just 20 meters, you're gonna miss a lot of bullets, as you can see here, right? So that's a problem. So instead, we have these lines on the side, which have been put at a specific distance so that you basically use those to help you lead your shots. It's pretty straightforward. If they strafe this way, you aim on the right crosshair side. And then if they strafe on the other side, then you can just aim on the other rectangle, basically, right? It'll just help you to lead your shots. Like, even at this distance, you still need to sort of lead your shots with this gun because it's just that slow. This is Luna Snow's best Crosshair. Now, couple reasons. Luna Snow is hit scan. She'll immediately hit no matter where you're aiming. The first hit will always be wherever you're aiming, right? However, as you move, the interesting thing starts to happen that this is actually a triple burst attack. So the first shot is going to be where you're moving, but as you strafe, the second and third shot will actually trail behind. So these lines will help you understand what kind of like pattern your attack is going to make, so that if I'm moving, like, I know that as long as I aim my, you know, the lines on the target, it's going to make sure that I'm getting, like, some shots, right? And the best thing you can do with Luna Snow is honestly is stop moving every time you attack. But sometimes you're not going to be able to do that. So this gives you a bit more information. And it's a white color. I think that's the best color for healers. This is Magneto's new best Crosshair. I've had a bit more time with Magneto now, so I've realized the weaknesses in his kit. First of which being, his primary attack actually has a really slow travel time, 60 meters a second, making it one of the slowest travel times of any primary attack in the game. So if we just aim on target, yeah, we're not going to hit. So the extra really long distance sort of rectangles hit, as you can see here, like that's how much you need to lead your shot. So this will help you a lot to make sure you're leading your shots correctly. This is Captain America's best Crosshair. It's a simple green dot with the outer lines helping you to account for the travel time of the shield throw, which is, I think, 80 meters a second, which is very slow for an attack. Now, it does only have a 25 meter distance. As you can see, if we go further away, it doesn't work. So from 25 meters onwards, if we aim at the green line as opposed to the dot when we throw the shield, it's going to allow us to actually account for our bullet travel time and make sure that you hit more accurate shields. This is Hulk's best crosshair. I still think it's the best for just knowing where your punches are going to hit up close and also understanding where this ability's hitbox is. If you feel like it's not transparent enough, I've put some settings in the document so that you can adjust the transparency very easily. But yeah, I still think it's the best. This is Loki's new best crosshair. I've done some work on this just to make it a little bit better at leading your shots long range because it is a slow 100 meter a second travel time, which is slower than, say, Rocket Raccoon's. So you can once again lead your shots by using the green lines on the side. Like with most, that's the point of these side things, just to lead your shots, right? Now, it's quite a big bullet, you know? So you can actually basically aim at the right side, even like up close, like this. You can still aim on the side. So you don't really even need to worry about aiming at the center of your screen unless you're like right up in someone's face. Winter Soldier's best crosshair is the same it was before. You have a nice clean reticle for aiming, and then the outer circle helps you to know the radius of the grapple. As long as the target is in that circle, it will hit the grapple. Remembering that the grapple range is 20 meters maximum with a full charge. In that circle, you're going to grapple them. This is the Punisher's best crosshair. As a hit scan character, it's best to have a very accurate reticle in the middle, and the outer circle will help you know the crosshair spread up close. If the head is fully covering the circle like this, it's a one-shot. I should add that's a one-shot on most squishies, like, say, Magik? Sure. Iron Fist with his new health buff? No. Spider-Man's best crosshair hasn't changed either. This circle, the outer circle, just helps you know the hitbox of your web, right? So when you swing midair, you know exactly how to hit a web, basically. Pretty straightforward stuff. It's nice and clean, does the job. Adam Warlock's new crosshair has a couple changes over the original. Firstly, he does have a hit scan ability on his primary attack. So a nice dot that just shows you where you're aiming is all you need because it's going to instantly hit whatever you're aiming at. However, Adam Warlock's secondary is not a hit scan. So if you aim on target, you're going to miss your shots. Especially at about 20 to 30 meters, you're going to notice the biggest issue. And so instead, we have the lines on either side on this crosshair, which are lined up to give you a way to gauge how to lead your shots from 5 to 50 meters. Yes, you're reading that right. 5 to 50 meters will be a good sort of option. Everything in that range you will hit if you aim the, whatever it's called, the lines on the side. And then we'll try it again on this further target here. As you can see, aim at that further target, it will hit. I still feel like this is Psylocke's best crosshair. It's perfectly aligned with the 5 blades that come out of a secondary, and when you fire your primary, everything in the circle is going to hit, right? It just looks cool, and it works. Now, you could just use a dot if you wanted, but if you want that extra information of where your blades are going to hit, this can be good. It's nice. It looks cool. Squirrel Girl's best crosshair is her default crosshair. This one is unique to Squirrel Girl and I think Hawkeye. You just basically go and set a Squirrel Girl as your hero and go to reticle and click default. You just want default and then that will give you this crosshair. There are no specific settings for it. It's literally just the default Squirrel Girl. This is Scarlet Witch's best crosshair. Up close, she has auto aim, so you don't need to worry too much. But her secondary attack has a 120 meter a second travel time, which is pretty slow. So you're going to want to use these side reticle angle, squares or rectangles to lead your shots. Aiming at those will make sure that you're pretty much on target up to about 50 meters. Longer than that, it's too slow travel time, and this isn't going to work. But as you can see here, like if we aim here, it's not going to work. But if we do about 5 to 40 or 5 to 50 meters, it will track, as you can see. This, to me, is still Star-Lord's best crosshair. A nice, easy-to-use reticle up close so you can see where you're aiming. But longer range, the more you fire with Star-Lord, the more spread your primary fire gets. So this circle kind of signifies where about 80% of the bullets are going to go at full spread. So it just gives you a bit more information if you need it. This is Iron Man's new best crosshair, slightly adjusted. Before, it had a yellow color. I'll explain why it's special, and then I'll explain the color change. So, when you fire with a uni-beam, up to 22 meters distance, and considering the max distance is 25, you can just aim at this black line, and that will make sure that you're actually on target. This just makes it far, far easier to track targets, and also track when players are stacked up in a line, and that happens a lot. You know, your tanks are here and your supports are here on the enemy team. They're stacked up in a line. It makes it so much easier to do damage on multiple targets at once. Honestly, I've done a lot of crosshairs. I've messed around with a lot of them. This is my favorite, and it helps me so much, and I'm not even like exaggerating. I really, really like it because of the way Iron Man's attacks work. The furthest point that damage will happen is actually at the middle of your screen where the dot is. So you actually, like, that's the least accurate you could ever be, aiming right at the center of your screen. Because if you aim a little bit too much this way, or the enemy steps a little bit to the right, you're suddenly not hitting. But if you're aiming here, you have so much extra room to adjust your aim, and you're most likely not going to miss. You're not aiming with a dot, you're aiming with a giant laser beam coming out of your chest, right? I've changed it to black on the crosshair part because the yellow before was a little bit harder to see. Now it's really easy to see no matter what you've got going on, which is just a nice little reminder for you. This is still Mr. Fantastic's best crosshair. When he extends his arm, he has a trailing effect on his attacks, and you can drag that through enemies to do damage to multiple targets. But the hitbox of that trailing attack is a lot bigger than you think. It's basically exactly where this yellow sort of circle is, so it just makes sure that you can be more accurate with trailing and hitting multiple targets at once. This is still Magik's best crosshair. The line on the side is a perfect way to make sure that you always hit your dash. The dash has a maximum range of 16 meters. As long as you aim the left side on the dash within 16 meters, you'll always hit your dash. As you can see, no matter what, we'll always hit it. Now, I did add an extra customization option in here, and it's already set up and ready to go. If you don't like the circle, then all you need to do once you've put in this crosshair is just go down to opacity and put circle opacity to 0 and dot opacity to 100. And then you got a little bit of a dot in the middle of your screen if you prefer that. This is Namor's new best crosshair. It fixes a couple problems with Namor's main attack. It's a really strong main attack, but it has a lot of bullet drop and slow bullet travel time. So, when you're aiming on a static target, you just gotta sandwich their head between the two reticles and it's gonna be a critical hit. But trouble is, when you're aiming on a moving target, you're not gonna be able to track them at further distances because it's just gonna trail behind them. So if we aim at the very edge of these reticles, instead, we can actually get a headshot at longer distances. And then we can actually hit further and get headshots at pretty decent ranges. This is still Hela's best crosshair. As a hit scan hero, having a nice dot the size of your hit scan weapon is the best thing you can do to make sure that you're always on target. You don't need to trail your shots, you don't need to lead your shots. However, Hela's orb ability has bullet drop. So I've made it so that as long as you aim the bottom rectangle at your target's head and fire the orb, you will keep hitting up to like 30 meters. Because that's such a large hitbox, it goes all the way up to 30 meters. Now, further than that, you're going to have to learn the bullet drop yourself. This is Storm's best crosshair, a new design that just makes it a little cleaner. Essentially, with Storm, her attacks will be a randomly selected sort of direction. Now, I've made it so that all you need to do is either aim on this portion or this portion, depending on whether you're leading your shots from the left or the right. As we see, we can hit shots like this very easy. And then longer range, it also still works. If I aim it here, it's going to hit. And this means that when we get those tricky vertical slices that sometimes happen, we're still going to be on target. Just feels a bit more accurate considering how the bullet travel time works with this ability. And then the overall circle is actually the size of the secondary attack. So you can aim here, and you're still going to hit. Like, it's pretty big. This is Wolverine's best crosshair. Look, if there isn't an ability that can make use of a good reticle, then it's probably because you don't need it. And in Wolverine's abilities, I don't see there being any reason why you would need anything other than a simple green dot. In this case, really, the trademark green dot is all we need. I'll put it in the document in case you want this specific green dot, but any dot will do. You wanted an Iron Fist crosshair. I didn't give one in the last video, so here's Iron Fist crosshair for this video. It's literally nothing. Dot width, dot opacity, sorry, 000. Now, you may be thinking I'm trolling, but there's actually a good reason for it. When you're in range of your attack, a nice yellow indicator appears. If you have a crosshair on your screen, you may not see this yourself, okay? Now, this wasn't even my idea. I looked around a lot for some Iron Fist tips. I'll put a link in the description to the person who kind of pioneered this idea, called Riv. He deserves the credit for this. But yeah, just literally no crosshair is better because you can better see this indicator. And I think that's a great idea. So shout out to Riv. I'll put his video for Iron Fist in the comments. This is still Black Widow's best crosshair. The most accurate dot you could get to just make sure that you're aiming on target, because you're going to want to aim on target. There's no bullet travel time, you know, aiming long distance, it's still going to hit no matter what. It's a hit scan. So yeah, this is great. I thought this might be the Thing's best crosshair, but after seeing the Iron Fist crosshair, I don't know. The whole point of this crosshair is to have negative space in the center of your screen so that you can see the highlight color when you're in range. Like, I can hit here, right? I can't hit here, but I won't know that if I have a giant crosshair in the way. So having negative space, empty space in the center of my screen so I can focus on the target and whether they're highlighted is going to make sure that I'm actually hitting. And it's okay. But now that I've kind of played around with it, I generally am going to try this. No crosshair. It just kind of feels smoother. Like, I don't want to see a crosshair. I want to see the enemy. I want to see if they're in highlight range. And that's good enough. I feel like that's good enough. Here's Hawkeye's best crosshair. A very nice, clean inner reticle just for aiming. And then the outer circle helps to tell you where you can ADS in range of a target to charge up the shot. So the outer circle is a reminder for where you can charge up the shot. As you can see here, if a charge up here doesn't work, if a charge up here, it does. So pretty nice. And then we have Black Panther's crosshair. The spear has bullet drop and it has a max range of 50 meters. So this bottom rectangle lines up with where you need to aim up to a maximum of 50 meters to make sure you always hit your spear. As you can see here, if I always aim on their head right at this bottom reticle, the bottom square rectangle, it will always hit them. That's all of the crosshairs for today. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, please consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio!